busy-ish street. We're basically doing a half circle in the front and fixing this over here. So let's start with the half circle, using these joint lines as reference. Sorry, let's start over here. If you can imagine a straightaway with this joint line, that's your half circle run. From here, 12 feet, which is about 2 feet further over than this joint, that's your rectangle. From there to that joint is basically a 9 by 9, the flare, in order to tie into the 12-foot run. You're gonna have about 5 feet here, and I think it's like 6 feet here, just because I think it would look better to basically try to keep it straight with that joint line, which is not straight with this sidewalk. So as it's coming out to here, this sidewalk is a straight line basically to the road, where that will come from there to there straight. That's where you bend and come to here, where yes, there's a water meter box over here, but it's out the way, and you will have your flares basically mimicking his other entry. So likely coming to here and redoing it the same. I gotta measure his to put here, but that's the shape of this, where again, that's coming straight, that ties in, and then it'll flare like his. There's irrigation and electrical for that he wants to preserve. Doesn't care about the tree. I told him any sprinkler heads we hit we can fix and potentially relocate, but if we had the cap or run a few pipes so that way future irrigation can have something roughed in to work with, that's where we're at. So his main entry is 20 feet, 19, 8 inches, call it 20, which is almost perfect for if that was a straight line, 12 feet wide. The difference is about 8, so 4 on each side. It's about 5 feet over, so just come to here. Sorry, I just realized that's basically a 2-car entry and not a single. The widest point here is, or the narrowest point here is 12. I just don't think you need the flare as hard. I'm gonna measure the neighbors just for reference. That's only 15 feet on a 11.5 drive. Honestly, 16 would probably be plenty. So instead of 20 like this is, let's do 16 over here. Okay, so 17 feet 3 inches comes to here. And just like this driveway doesn't go as far, but you need some runway for the sidewalk to connect, you'll have a 16-foot entry and then a foot or two of just transition. So 16 feet of curb comes to here. Cut into that, redo this as an entry. 16 becomes 12, that's an average of 28, call it 14 by 10, which is about here. And then the remainder, 61 feet 3 inches, minus the 10 feet, so like 51 feet, 9 by 9 triangle, and then basically a 4 by 9 section of sidewalk tying in this to the new driveway. And then another thing he wants us to look at is basically cutting from here to that crack, and then from here the same length or same width back, which is like 3 feet, and then basically wherever that line would be, cut out this broken section also, so it's kind of like a big L. And then we actually want to go another 2 feet, where the back of that 2 feet is a curb where the water can hit it. Anyone backing up would hit the curb, give them a few more feet or a couple more feet to back up and then pull out. So this will be about a 5-foot section, so that way if when they ever redo this, they can do, it's 22 feet, they can just cut it in 11, so it'll look intentional. Picture frame and decorative edge on the front, decorative edge retool on this on the inside, so that way if they ever redo this, that's already there. And then we can terminate the curb. I'll measure wherever it makes sense, somewhere in the middle here. And then also he wants weep holes, which we can either wet set or hammer drill into once it's hardened. So that's just right at 3 feet. So from that crack, 3 feet wide over 44 feet 8 inches. Sorry, make that 46 feet 6 inches. And then cutting this out, it's like 3 feet 3 inches over 17. But I measured from the outside, so that's actually 14, not 17, by 3 feet 3 inches. And then a 2 foot setback and curb linear foot. I'm gonna go 51 feet 6 inches. The curb doesn't necessarily have to start here, it could start there, but he's worried about this washing out. So we're gonna basically do a turn down with the curb. And I think the curb could start somewhere over there, but if we put in concrete here and make sure we go down to the ground, it fixes that. So there'd also be like a triangle tying in to where we cut. So a 5, because this is 3, that's 2 feet back. Over 18 feet 9 inches. Where again, and this might not be perfectly aligned, but we kind of follow that line to the outside of there, and then we do a straight. So it might not be one straight line, it's going to be from A to B to C point for snapping the lines. And then extend that curvature back out to here, and then bend it back in, and then do a straight away with the curb. Which you got 4 inches here, probably 8 inches more. So you need a 2x12 for the back, the whole run. And I know we stopped somewhere like in here, but that's where the curb would stop. We still got to do another little section, call it a 3 or a 2x6, another 2x6 here, where the new end of the driveway would be something like here. And again, I don't know if we can take the Bobcat and kind of scoop this river rock back, so that way it's still there when we're done, but it is what it is. So come into here, straight shot like this, go from there. And this is also in Charlotte.